Okay, so what happened in Game 3? Well, first I want to give credit to Russell Westbrook. Played much better. Did not dribble into traffic as much. Made his jumpers a little bit more. Not as many turnovers. Just played a better game, pretty much. So, good for Russ. We hope that he's feeling good, the quad's good, and all that stuff. Now, to move on to the Lakers, Rajon Rondo was a huge X factor tonight. I mean, the 9 assists, okay, we'll give him credit for that. Give him credit for beating some guys off the dribble, and he had some layups, and he wasn't just floating around the perimeter. He was getting into the teeth of the Rockets' defense a little bit, but also 3 for 5 from outside, and the timeliness of those threes was big as well. Is timeliness a word? I think it is. Houston's going to give him those shots. He was open on pretty much all of them from what I remember, and we don't know how many times Rondo's going to shoot that well, but he did, and it was big. But the other thing to talk about, I mentioned it with Rondo, the way that he could get inside, and I think you got to say the same thing about LeBron. I mean, I know I brought this up earlier, like the Rockets' chances of stopping LeBron, it's probably just not going to happen, but you have to do something here. I think Houston is trying a little bit of playing him straight up and then bringing guys after LeBron has started his move a little bit. The one that I remember the most was he had PJ Tucker on him. It was later in the game, and then he hit him with a spin move, and he was able to get through the 2 Rockets defenders who were now on him. And I mean, look, man, it's the classic LeBron thing. He's just so damn good that you pick anything and he's going to beat you somehow. But I would be willing to live more with the Lakers beating me from outside than LeBron killing me just getting to the rim time and time again, which he was able to do. Now, again, Rondo was 3 for 5 from outside. Outside of him, Kuzma 0 for 2, Morris 0 for 4, Danny Green 0 for 3, KCP hit a couple. I mean, the Lakers' shooting is suspect enough. Kudos to Caruso, who made that one late with LeBron not in the game. That one was actually kind of big. I think that gave him like a 12-point lead. But, I mean, do you double-team LeBron? One thing Houston's doing is they are busting out some zones. They do it a lot when AD posts up. I have mentioned this already. Like, when AD's in the post, they leave the guy in the opposite corner wide open, and they just are daring the Lakers to get it to that guy before they can get back to that guy, and I think Houston's had success with that. It's a little tougher to do that against LeBron. Better passer than AD, and when he's at the top of the key and he can see everything and all that stuff, I know, but you got to do something here. I mean, 36 points tonight with 10 free throw attempts, and it's just going to be too hard to stop them from scoring if you can't slow down LeBron in some way. Now, hopefully Covington is okay. I mean, he took a hell of an elbow from AD. It wasn't on purpose or anything, but his help defense is going to be vital there. He's not going to be able to match up with LeBron one-on-one. Covington is not as good of a one-on-one defender as he is a team defender. Gordon kind of has the size for it. Tucker does as well, but you just simply have to be able to put extra bodies on him, and sometimes you're just going to have to hope the Lakers miss some threes. But even then, it's not as if you should just be at their mercy because you give LeBron a little extra attention, you can still close out to those guys. Yeah, it's going to require the communication and all that stuff, but I mean, this is the playoffs, man. This is how it goes. I mean, I think the Lakers did a pretty good job of that in this game. I mean, they held the Rockets to 30 3-point attempts. Houston wants to take a lot more threes than that, and we'll get into what happened there in a moment, but you just, whether it's a creative zone where you leave somebody open, but because of the zone, you're kind of having like one guy defend 2 guys at once, or whatever it's got to be, you just got to throw something different at LeBron right now. Because based on this game, it seems like he might have just figured out Houston's defense, and once LeBron does that, you kind of have no chance to beat him unless you're the Warriors and you're just so much more talented than LeBron's team that you're going to win anyway. To talk about the AD post-ups a little bit, he's just making shots, man. I mean, I had a tweet where I just basically said, Houston's got to be saying to themselves, eventually he's going to miss some of these. Well, it's been 3 games, and he's not missing them. I think AD's field goal percentage for this series is like 65% or something. I just checked it. He's 34 for 54, 55, something like that in this series. Basically, he's just not missing, as I just said. Some of them are dunks, layups, offensive rebounds, fast breaks. I get all that. But a lot of them are these post-ups where the Rockets, they're sending guys at him, and they're doing a good job of not letting AD just back his way down into the post or right at the basket. But it just comes down to he's really, really talented. He's great from mid-range, and they don't have anyone who can really contest the shot. You can get him, you can bully him from down low. You can make it as tough as possible for him to get to his ideal spot, but it's Anthony Davis. I mean, this is just how it's going to be sometimes. But unfortunately for the Rockets, it has not swung their way at all so far. He also had 6 assists tonight, so that could be a bad sign for them as well. I mean, what do? Do you bring a third guy over to him? I mean, I think PJ Tucker is doing a hell of a job of fighting for position, and there have been some possessions where AD did not get a shot off at all. I'll give you that one. But to act as if he's losing the matchup versus the Rockets' post defense, I think that's just wrong. So yeah, basically, you just got to make it tougher on LeBron and AD, which usually means there's going to be open shooters. But hey, you know what? Rondo made 3, and there you go. To think about the Lakers' defense in the second half on the Rockets. So, I'll be honest, I didn't catch all the first half. I was doing the Bucks video, whatever else, right? But it did seem like their defense on Harden was a little more conventional, which is not going to work. They brought the double more on Harden in the second half, and Harden is just kind of taking himself out of some of these plays. Like, he gives the ball up, and, you know, they did have one play, actually, where he had a little bit of off-ball motion, and he got a wide-open 3 off of it. You'd hope that they would do a little bit more of that, because it seems like when the ball is not in Harden's hand right now, they're forcing it out of his hand with a double team. He doesn't do anything, and that's not going to work, because he's basically taking himself out of the play. It becomes 5v4, and, well, you just can't have that. So, what do you do if you're Houston? I mean, I think Harden can do some stuff off the ball. Yeah, he's not going to be doing floppy sets or anything, but you can do a little stuff with him. You know, just something to get him a little bit of momentum and not allow the Lakers to just load up on him all the time. Because Houston's offense in the second half just fell off a cliff pretty much. I do think the Lakers did a better job with the double teaming in this game, because game 2 they doubled and they did it like really aggressively to the point where they were just chasing shooters around all day. Whereas in this one, and this is, I think, where Houston's 3-point attempts come back into it, they did a better job of doubling Harden, but not doing it so crazy-like to where there was clearly a guy wide open. And I think that's a testament to Kuzma and Danny Green. And yeah, I know Danny Green is Lakers fan, public enemy number 1 right now, but defensively, he's still bringing it. KCP, Kuzma, Morris, LeBron, it's really just a team effort to not allow Houston to get the shots they really, really wanted. Again, mainly in the second half. The first half, Houston they were doing their Houston thing. As far as what do you do if you're the Rockets? Well, again, try to get Harden some sort of off-ball stuff going. Even something as simple as he just starts on the elbow, you give him a screen. Even if they switch it, at least it gets Harden moving a little bit to where he can then hopefully beat the guy who switched onto him, you know? And if they double that, well, then somebody at the elbow is going to be wide open. And granted, the Lakers have done a good job of then like kind of defending that guy, but then getting back to the guy in the corner and all that. But still, I mean, Houston, they should be able to find some open shots here like they did in game 2. I also think there's opportunities to just be cutting a little bit more if you're the Rockets. You know, if you're the open guy and the Lakers are doing a good job of getting back to the open dudes, you could just try cutting every now and then. It's not the worst idea in the world, I guess. Sure, Anthony Davis is down there a lot of the time, but he's not like he's there every single second. I do think there are some seams the Rockets could take advantage of, especially with Westbrook. So yeah, anything else I've got? I think Houston missed Daniel House a little bit. That's another guy who can at least body up LeBron somewhat. I'm not expecting Daniel House to slow him down, but at least it's another body you can have in LeBron's way of the basket. Whereas Ben McLemore and Austin Rivers, they've got no chances there. And yeah, basically making it tougher for AD and LeBron while still getting out to shooters. That's a lot to ask for, but I mean, they got to win the series somehow. And we'll see if Houston can find some ways to get Harden some shots once they start double teaming him and yeah. But again, Westbrook was good. We'll give him credit for that one. We hope he can keep it up. Do we expect Rondo to have another 21-9 game? No, we don't. Yeah, I think the Lakers are kind of hoping for that. Like every game, one game it's KCP has a big night. The next game it's Morris. Next game it's Kuzma. Next game Rondo. One game Caruso. And then AD and LeBron are the constant every game. So we'll see. Game 4 should be cool. Houston, is it a must-win for Houston? I think it is, because you're talking about either a 3-game series or having to come back from 3-1. So, yeah. Houston better win game 4 for their own sake.